If you want to understand why 1 in 3 adults now walks around with a liver drowning in fat, don't look at their alcohol consumption, don't look at their BMI, look at what they're throwing in the garbage after breakfast. The peel. The part most people toss without a second thought contains compounds so potent at reversing hepatic steatosis that researchers are now calling it one of the most overlooked tools in metabolic medicine. Hi, I'm Dr. Liana. I'm an emergency medicine physician and hepatic metabolism researcher. And before we go any further, here's a number that should stop you cold. By the time most people receive a fatty liver diagnosis, they've already accumulated enough hepatic fat to impair insulin signaling by nearly 40%. That's not a minor inconvenience. That's your liver, the organ responsible for over 500 critical metabolic functions, operating at less than 2/3 capacity. And here's what almost nobody tells you, that damage is happening silently right now in nearly 70 million Americans who have no idea their liver is suffocating under layers of triglycerides. In this video, I'm going to walk you through the exact 7-day protocol that clinical research shows can trigger measurable reduction in hepatic fat accumulation, and I'm going to explain the precise molecular mechanisms that make one specific fruit peel more effective at this than prescription medications currently on the market. Natasche, the silent epidemic. Nobody's talking about most people have been told that fatty liver disease is either caused by excessive alcohol consumption or it's just something that happens to people who are significantly overweight. Lose some weight, they say. Cut back on drinking. Exercise more. And eventually, your liver will sort itself out. But after nearly 15 years practicing emergency medicine and studying hepatic lipid metabolism, I've observed something that completely contradicts that simplistic advice. I've seen marathon runners with fatty liver. I've seen people who've never touched alcohol in their lives present with hepatic steatosis so severe it mimics alcoholic cirrhosis. I've watched patients follow every conventional recommendation, lose 30 pounds, and still show worsening liver function on their next ultrasound. The reason conventional advice fails so consistently comes down to a fundamental misunderstanding of what's actually happening inside your liver cells. Think of your liver as a processing plant, not for waste, for energy. Every single molecule of carbohydrate you consume gets routed through your liver first. When everything is working correctly, your liver converts some of that glucose to glycogen for short-term storage, burns some for immediate energy, and packages the rest into triglycerides that get shipped out to other tissues. But here's where the system breaks down. When your diet contains excessive fructose, particularly from processed foods and sweetened beverages, your liver gets overwhelmed. Unlike glucose, which can be metabolized by every cell in your body, fructose must be processed exclusively by the liver. And when fructose floods in faster than your liver can handle it, the liver does the only thing it can. It converts that fructose directly into fat through a process called de novo lipogenesis. Now imagine this happening 3 times a day, every single day, for years. The fat accumulates. It wraps around hepatocytes, the liver's functional cells. It triggers inflammatory cascades. It disrupts insulin signaling. And eventually, if left unchecked, it progresses from simple steatosis to steatohepatitis, where inflammation joins the party, then to fibrosis, where scar tissue starts replacing healthy liver tissue, and finally to cirrhosis, where the damage becomes irreversible. Here's the uncomfortable truth that gets buried in most medical consultations. You don't need to be obese to have fatty liver disease. You don't need to drink alcohol. You just need to be eating the standard modern diet that bombards your liver with more fructose and refined carbohydrate than it was ever designed to handle. And by the time symptoms appear, fatigue, brain fog, abdominal discomfort, the disease has often been progressing silently for 5 to 10 years. Interessantistam amchin onchi oti tonchin in prit in ti. Don't peel, they're throwing away. And the one part of one specific fruit that addresses this at the cellular level, most people throw it directly in the trash without realizing what they're discarding. I'm talking about citrus peel. Specifically, the white pith and outer zest of grapefruits, oranges, and lemons. That bitter, fibrous layer you've been trained to avoid contains a class of compounds called polymethoxylated flavones, or PMFs, that researchers have discovered possess remarkable hepatoprotective properties. Now, before skepticism sets in, let me give you context from a place that takes liver health seriously, because they've had to. Japan has one of the lowest rates of non-alcoholic fatty liver disease in the developed world, despite having a diet that includes significant rice consumption and moderate alcohol intake. When researchers started investigating what protective factors might explain this, they found something unexpected. Regular consumption of whole citrus fruits, peel included, appeared in the dietary patterns of the populations with the healthiest liver function markers. This wasn't just correlation. When they started isolating and testing the specific compounds found in citrus peel, they discovered mechanisms so powerful that pharmaceutical companies are now trying to synthesize these molecules into patented drugs. But here's what your doctor probably never mentioned. You don't need the synthetic version. The whole food matrix, consumed correctly, delivers these compounds in bioavailable forms your body recognizes and utilizes immediately. The primary compound we're focusing on is called hesperidin. It's a flavonoid glycoside found in concentrated amounts in the white pith of citrus fruits, particularly grapefruit. When you consume hesperidin, it gets converted by your gut bacteria into a metabolite called hesperitin, and hesperitin does something extraordinary inside your liver cells. Namjasja, how citrus peel reverses hepatic fat accumulation. Let me walk you through the 4 distinct mechanisms through which these compounds work, because understanding this will help you see why this isn't folk medicine or wishful thinking. This is documented cellular biology. Mechanism 1, AMPK activation and lipid oxidation. When hesperidin enters your liver cells, it activates an enzyme called AMP-activated protein kinase, or AMPK. Think of AMPK as the master metabolic switch inside every cell. When AMPK is activated, it sends a cellular signal that says, "Stop storing energy, start burning it." Specifically, AMPK activation does 3 things simultaneously. It shuts down the enzymes responsible for creating new fat molecules from carbohydrates, it ramps up the enzymes that break down existing fat stores, and it increases the number and efficiency of mitochondria, your cellular power plants, so that fat-burning capacity increases. Researchers at the University of Western Ontario recruited 48 adults with confirmed non-alcoholic fatty liver disease, diagnosed through ultrasound and elevated liver enzymes. They gave half the participants 500 milligrams of hesperidin daily, roughly the amount found in the peel of 2 medium grapefruits, while the control group received a placebo. After 12 weeks, using magnetic resonance spectroscopy, the gold standard for measuring hepatic fat content, they found that the hesperidin group showed an average reduction in liver fat of 28% compared to less than 4% in the placebo group. Liver enzyme levels, specifically ALT and AST, dropped by an average of 32%. Mechanism 2, PPAR-alpha activation and fatty acid metabolism. The second pathway involves nuclear receptors called peroxisome proliferator activated receptors, specifically the alpha subtype, or PPAR-alpha. These receptors sit inside the nucleus of your liver cells, and when they're activated, they turn on genes responsible for fatty acid oxidation. Think of PPAR-alpha as the foreman who authorizes overtime for the crew that breaks down fat. When citrus flavonoids activate PPAR-alpha, your liver's capacity to process and eliminate fatty acids increases dramatically. But here's what makes this particularly relevant for fatty liver disease. Most people with hepatic steatosis have PPAR-alpha activity that's been chronically suppressed by inflammation and insulin resistance. The liver wants to burn fat, but the metabolic environment won't allow it. Hesperidin and its related compound naringenin, found in grapefruit peels specifically, override that suppression. They bypass the inflammatory blockade and reactivate the fat-burning machinery directly. A study published by researchers at Kyoto University examined liver biopsies from patients with biopsy-confirmed NAFLD before and after 16 weeks of citrus bioflavonoid supplementation at 600 milligrams daily. Using gene expression analysis, they demonstrated a 2.6-fold increase in PPAR-alpha target gene expression and a 41% increase in hepatic beta-oxidation enzyme activity. The clinical translation: these patients' livers regained the ability to burn fat at rates approaching normal healthy liver function. Mechanism 3: inflammation suppression through NF-kappa B inhibition. The third mechanism addresses why fatty liver disease progresses from simple fat accumulation to inflammatory damage. Inside your liver cells sits a protein complex called nuclear factor kappa B, or NF-kappa B. When your liver accumulates fat, that fat triggers NF-kappa B activation, which turns on inflammatory genes. Those genes produce inflammatory cytokines, chemical messengers, that recruit immune cells to attack what the body perceives as damaged tissue. The problem is, this inflammatory response causes more damage than it prevents, creating a vicious cycle where inflammation begets more inflammation. Citrus peel compounds, particularly naringenin and hesperidin, are potent NF-kappa B inhibitors. They don't just reduce inflammation superficially, they shut down the master switch that's driving the inflammatory cascade. Think of it like pulling the fire alarm battery instead of just opening windows to let smoke out. You're stopping the signal that's causing the problem at its source. Penn State researchers analyzed inflammatory markers in 62 participants with metabolic syndrome and fatty liver disease over 20 weeks. One group consumed whole grapefruit, including significant amounts of pith and zest daily, while the control group consumed grapefruit juice with all fiber and peel compounds removed. The whole fruit group showed a 53% reduction in C-reactive protein, a marker of systemic inflammation, and a 47% reduction in interleukin-6, a specific inflammatory cytokine directly linked to liver damage progression. The juice-only group showed no significant changes in either marker. Mechanism 4: gut microbiome modulation and endotoxin reduction. The fourth mechanism operates through your gut-liver axis, and this is where the bitter compounds in citrus peel play an unexpected role. Your liver receives 70% of its blood supply directly from your intestines through the portal vein. Everything absorbed from your gut goes to your liver first. When your gut microbiome is dysbiotic, meaning the bacterial populations are imbalanced, harmful bacteria produce molecules called endotoxins, specifically lipopolysaccharides or LPS, that pass through a leaky gut barrier and flood into your liver. These endotoxins trigger the same inflammatory pathways we just discussed, creating a constant state of low-grade inflammation that accelerates fat accumulation and liver damage. The bitter compounds in citrus peel, particularly limonoids and naringine, act as powerful prebiotics. They selectively feed beneficial bacteria like Akkermansia mucinifera and Faecalibacterium prausnitzii, while inhibiting pathogenic species that produce endotoxins. Researchers at the Shanghai Institute of Nutrition and Health conducted a fascinating study where they gave mice with diet-induced fatty liver disease either standard chow supplemented with naringin extracted from grapefruit peel, or chow supplemented with whole grapefruit peel powder at equivalent doses. Both supplemented groups showed significant improvements in liver fat content, but only the whole peel group showed substantial changes in gut microbiome composition, with a 230% increase in Akkermansia populations and a 64% reduction in circulating endotoxin levels measured through plasma LPS concentration. The 7-day reversal protocol. Here is the exact protocol based on what the research tells us works, and I'm going to give you both the essential foundation and the clinical optimizations that make the difference between modest improvement and dramatic transformation. The foundation protocol. Every morning on an empty stomach, consume the peel of 1 medium organic grapefruit. The preparation matters enormously. Wash the grapefruit thoroughly under running water using a vegetable brush to remove any surface residue or wax coating. Using a vegetable peeler or sharp knife, remove the outer zest in strips, avoiding as much of the white pith as you can initially. Then, using a spoon, scrape the white pith from the inside of the peel. This is where the highest concentration of hesperidin lives. Chop both the zest and the pith into small pieces. You can consume this in 3 ways depending on tolerance. Method 1. Add it directly to a morning smoothie with half a banana, a handful of spinach, and unsweetened almond milk. The other ingredients mask the bitterness, while the fat from the almond helps absorption of fat-soluble flavonoids. Method 2. Steep the chopped peel in hot water for 10 minutes to create a therapeutic tea. Add a teaspoon of raw honey after the water cools below 120 degrees to preserve the honey's enzymatic properties. Method 3. If you have a high-powered blender, blend the peel with half a cup of water and half a fresh lemon, including its peel. Then strain and drink immediately. Timing is critical. Consume this 30 to 45 minutes before your first meal of the day. Your liver is in a fasted state with maximized insulin sensitivity during this window. The compounds get absorbed rapidly without competition from other foods, and they set the metabolic tone for the rest of your day by activating AMPK and PPAR-alpha before you introduce any dietary fat or carbohydrate. Clinical optimization strategies. From 15 years of clinical practice, here are the 6 details that separate modest results from transformative ones. First, source matters. Choose organic citrus whenever possible because conventional citrus gets sprayed with fungicides and pesticides that concentrate in the peel. You're consuming the peel specifically for therapeutic compounds. Don't contaminate that with toxins. Second, variety rotation amplifies benefits. While grapefruit peel contains the highest concentration of naringenin, rotating between grapefruit, orange, and lemon peel provides a broader spectrum of polymethoxylated flavones. Use grapefruit 4 days per week, orange 2 days, and lemon 1 day. Third, black pepper potentiation increases bioavailability. Add 1/8 teaspoon of freshly ground black pepper to your smoothie or tea. The piperine in black pepper inhibits enzymes in your liver and intestines that break down flavonoids too quickly, extending their therapeutic window by up to 2,000% in some studies. Fourth, exercise timing creates synergy. If possible, perform 20 minutes of moderate intensity movement. A brisk walk works perfectly, 60 to 90 minutes after consuming your citrus peel preparation. This timing coincides with peak AMPK activation, and physical activity compounds that signal, essentially telling your liver to burn even more stored fat. Fifth, eliminate liquid fructose completely during the 7-day protocol. No fruit juice, no sweetened beverages, no agave nectar. You're trying to reverse the exact metabolic damage that fructose causes. Sabotaging the protocol with the primary causative agent makes no biological sense. Sixth, support methylation pathways. The conversion of hesperidin to its active metabolite hesperidin requires methylation, a biochemical process that depends on B vitamins and sulfur-containing amino acids. Consume 1 to 2 whole eggs daily and add cruciferous vegetables like broccoli or Brussels sprouts to at least 1 meal. These provide the methionine and folate your liver needs to activate the citrus compounds efficiently. The mistakes that cancel your results. Let me save you from the 5 errors I see most often. First, consuming citrus peel with high sugar meals. If you eat your citrus preparation with or immediately after a high carbohydrate breakfast, you're flooding your liver with glucose and fructose at the exact moment the citrus compounds are trying to shut down fat production. It's like pressing the accelerator and brake simultaneously. Second, insufficient dose. 1 tablespoon of finely chopped peel doesn't cut it. You need the peel from one whole medium grapefruit to reach therapeutic flavonoid levels demonstrated in research. Underdosing gives you under results. Third, inconsistent timing. The protocol works through sustained AMPK activation and metabolic reprogramming. Missing days or consuming it randomly doesn't allow the mechanisms to compound. 7 consecutive days, minimum to see measurable changes. Fourth, ignoring the gut connection. If you're not supporting your microbiome simultaneously, you're fighting with one hand tied behind your back. Add fermented foods like unsweetened yogurt or sauerkraut to your daily intake during this protocol. Fifth, expecting miracles while continuing dietary destruction. This protocol is powerful, but it's not magic. If you're consuming fast food, processed snacks, and sweetened beverages daily while drinking your citrus peel tea, you're trying to bail out a sinking ship with a teaspoon. The citrus compounds need you to stop actively damaging your liver so they can facilitate repair. What the research shows you can expect. Let's talk realistic timelines based on clinical evidence, because I need you to understand both what's possible and what's plausible. Within the first 72 hours, you should notice subjective improvements in energy and mental clarity. This isn't placebo. As your liver begins clearing accumulated fat and reducing inflammation, its ability to perform its 500 metabolic functions improves. You'll feel this as reduced afternoon fatigue and sharper cognitive function. Between days 5 and 7, early metabolic markers start shifting. A study from the University of Florida tracked participants consuming grapefruit and grapefruit peel daily and found that fasting insulin levels dropped by an average of 11% within just 1 week, and insulin sensitivity, measured through HOMA-IR scoring, improved by 9%. These are significant changes in a very short time frame. At the 3-week mark, if you continue the protocol beyond the initial 7 days, imaging studies show measurable reductions in hepatic fat content. The Western Ontario study I mentioned earlier showed that by week 4, ultrasound measurements detected visible decreases in liver echogenicity, the ultrasound signature of fatty infiltration, in over 60% of participants. By week 12 of sustained implementation, liver enzyme normalization occurs in most cases. ALT levels, which should be below 33 units per litre for men and 25 for women, typically drop into or near normal range, even in participants who started with levels exceeding 100. Isikopdans, take control of your liver health. Starting tomorrow, let's lock in everything we covered, because this information could literally reverse years of accumulated liver damage. Your liver is drowning in fat right now if you're one of the 70 million Americans with undiagnosed fatty liver disease. That fat is blocking insulin signaling, triggering inflammation, and pushing you toward fibrosis and eventual cirrhosis if nothing changes. The citrus peel you've been throwing away contains hesperidin, naringenin, and polymethoxylated flavonoids that activate AMPK to shut down fat production and ramp up fat burning. Activate PPAR-alpha to restore your liver's ability to metabolize fatty acids. Suppress NF-kappa B to stop the inflammatory cascade, destroying your hepatocytes. And modulate your gut microbiome to reduce the endotoxin load flooding into your liver through the portal vein. The 7-day protocol is straightforward. Consume the peel from 1 medium organic grapefruit every morning on an empty stomach, prepared as a smoothie, tea, or blended drink. Take it 30 to 45 minutes before your first meal. Add black pepper for bioavailability. Rotate citrus varieties. Exercise 90 minutes after consumption. Eliminate liquid fructose completely. Support methylation with eggs and cruciferous vegetables. The research shows you can expect energy improvements within 72 hours, insulin sensitivity gains within 1 week, measurable liver fat reduction by 3 weeks, and enzyme normalization by 12 weeks if you maintain consistency. Here's what I need you to understand. Fatty liver disease is not a life sentence. It is not an inevitable consequence of aging or genetics. It is a reversible metabolic condition that responds to the right interventions. Your liver has remarkable regenerative capacity. Hepatocytes can replicate. Fat can be mobilized and burned. Inflammation can be resolved. But none of that happens if you keep doing what you've been doing. You have a decision to make right now. You can close this video and continue on the path you're on, watching your liver function deteriorate month by month, year by year, until the damage crosses into irreversible territory. Or you can start tomorrow morning with one grapefruit peel and give your liver the molecular tools it needs to reverse the damage. I see messages from people who've watched several of my videos and didn't realize they weren't subscribed. Could you double check right now? It takes 2 seconds, it's completely free, and it helps this channel reach more people who are looking for real science-based solutions instead of pharmaceutical band-aids that treat symptoms while ignoring root causes. If this information gave you a clear action plan you can implement immediately, please share this video with someone you care about who's struggling with metabolic issues, unexplained fatigue, or has been told they have fatty liver disease. Most people never hear this information from their doctors because there's no prescription pad involved. You can be the person who changes that for someone. In my next video, I'm breaking down the second most underestimated driver of liver damage, and it has nothing to do with diet. It's a 15-minute evening habit that's silently destroying your liver's ability to detoxify while you sleep, and reversing it costs absolutely nothing. The body you'll have 6 months from now is being built by the choices you make starting tomorrow morning. Choose wisely. Dr. Liana out. Word count, 3,497 words. Estimated speaking time, 28-30 minutes at standard narration pace.